excuse me, sorry. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is the first time you've stumbled on my YouTube channel, nice to meet you. I'm Johnny Berba. I just want to quickly tell you a bit about my backstory. Years ago, I'm 32 now, sort of up in my teens from 13, 14. I was always really nervous and shy around people growing up throughout my 20s. I never really understood what it was. I just had this feeling I didn't feel comfortable around other people, or it took me really long until I could feel relaxed around people and trust someone. So when I got to know someone over time, I could feel relaxed. But being around new people, and to contradict what I just said, sometimes even being around people, even family members, even friends, I'd experience a lot of anxiety. I'd feel like people were judging me, people were staring at me. I had a real difficult time making eye contact. I was really uncomfortable in public places. So like I'm doing a video blog now, this feels great for me. I'm really comfortable. I couldn't have done this. Just normal everyday things, and I didn't realise until I started to overcome this condition, which is called social phobia or social anxiety. Some people know it as shyness. I never realised that I could overcome this through actually practicing speaking to people and going through those uncomfortable feelings until those feelings started to dissipate, they started to go away. But I knew this wasn't something that I could overcome within one day or a week, and I knew this was something that I knew this was something, sorry, that I would be able to come throughout facing my fears. I knew it wasn't going to be comfortable, because every time I contemplated about doing this, I felt absolute panic. It gave me panic attacks, it gave me anxiety. I was so worried about being judged by people. I was worried that I might get into arguments with people. I was paranoid. I was worried that people might start at me, then I might lose my temper. And a lot of this came from, if not all of it, came from childhood trauma. I didn't have a good relationship growing up with my dad when I was younger. I was afraid of my dad. Unconsciously, I was afraid of men. I was afraid of women. I was really afraid of rejection and abandonment and social judgment. People took the piss out of me when I was younger in school. So lots of these negative experiences really trashed my confidence. And I was so embarrassed at the fact that I wasn't confident and I didn't like who I was. It made it worse. And I went into a lot of denial, very common in psychology. I went into denial and I wasn't myself. I wasn't being myself for people. I couldn't open up. I couldn't. It never felt right. It never felt right. There were moments when it felt a little bit better, but there was always this underlining fear that all these voices in my head, just this kind of feeling that I'm not good enough. And no matter what I say, people are not going to fully accept me. It's almost like, I felt like a prisoner. I felt like when I was having a conversation with someone that they were controlling me. I was self-conscious about what I said. I was worried about having my opinions. It was a really frustrating, it was actually a really painful place to be at. And I just remember thinking on many occasions that I can't tell anyone about this, because it's just so personal, and the people, in order to tell people, I have to admit that I'm afraid of them. I have to say, you do know that I'm afraid of you and I'm not comfortable with a human being, can you help me? So it's like this really vicious catch-22. But I remember also having a stronger feeling underneath that I could actually overcome this. If I could withstand the embarrassment, the shame, the guilt, the feelings of distrust in other people and myself, I could eventually build the self-confidence to be who I am and to actually like who I am. And I never realised how this social anxiety, this shyness, this people phobia was affecting all my relationships with my family, with meeting new people, with myself. It was affecting the way I walked, it was affecting the way I spoke, it was affecting the decisions I made, it was affecting my hobbies. Lots of things I was doing I wasn't enjoying. This was all unconscious rationalization, and it was escapism. All my behaviors, I was about to say most of them, if not all, were based around escaping from fear. I was petrified of discomfort. I was afraid of the feelings that social anxiety invoked to me, which was a feeling of embarrassment, and embarrassment's painful. It's painful to feel that people can see that you're not comfortable, or you think they can see. Sometimes they can't even see it, but there's all this inner chatter going on, and that was the worst part of it. And it used to make me feel so depressed. I used to be worried that I'm never going to get a girlfriend, a woman is not going to like me for who I am, I can't make friends. And the friends I was around, I couldn't fully be myself. As I said, there was a few select people that I could be, but it took me a long time, and I always thought it shouldn't take me this long to open up with someone. Going into a coffee shop, buying a coffee, I was embarrassed. I couldn't stand making eye contact. It felt so invasive. I felt like someone was looking into the depths of my soul. Almost had this thing where when I came out, I felt that people knew. They knew about me before they met me, but everything they knew about me was bad. So there was this feeling of a constant judgment. It was a judgment in my own voice, my own perceptions and ideas about myself. And if someone looked at me, the first thing I thought was, they think bad things about me. They think I'm an awful person. They think I'm a liar. Just the most horrific things. And I can't tell you how excited I am that I overcome this, and it wasn't easy. I'm not going to say it was easy because I teach this. It was the most difficult, excruciating thing I ever did. And I had to go through many ego deaths. I had to go through many transformations to finally become my true self. I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know what my true self was. I was coaching a girl a while back. She said something really profound that really reminded me of how I felt. She said, I don't know how to act when I meet people because I'm so afraid of them. I don't trust people. And you know, it's quite difficult to admit at the time, but I had a lot of hate towards people because I hated myself, and a lot of it came from people making me feel embarrassed. But of course it wasn't people's fault. People that had never met me, they didn't know I had this condition. Lots of people probably perceived that I'm quite a confident man, and that's what was more painful, when people actually would say, you seem really confident, you seem quite outgoing, but I didn't feel like that on the inside. And the most hurtful part was when I'd go home by myself and sit down, I'd feel like a liar, I'd feel like a fraud. I'd just spent time with someone, I'd go away feeling that I wasn't really honest about what I thought. I was agreeing when I didn't agree, or I didn't really know what I was doing in conversations. And I always felt like I don't want to have these sort of relationships. I want to actually get along with people, because I knew I had the ability to do that. And I'd done that you know, at particular stages of my life, but there was always still this underlining that something's not right, and there was this feeling of self-betrayal that was giving me a lot of depression. I tried so many ways to distract myself from this anxiety. I tried stuff like football, I tried drinking alcohol, I even learned pick-up lines on women, chat-up lines, but I come to the conclusion when I overcome this that I already was fine. I was fine the way I was. It was just fear. It was just from my negative experiences, and I've come to the conclusion that everyone had negative experience. I don't know any person in my social circle throughout teaching that never experienced some bullying, and I'm quite ashamed to say it. For many years of my life, I became a bully myself to protect myself, because that's all I knew, because people always try to bully me, so I became a bully, and I didn't feel good about it. And again, I realized that I didn't actually have to bully people, that I didn't have to use physical violence to communicate with someone or to show personal boundaries. I could do that just by what I'm doing now, social confidence and being honest. And it just seemed, when I was in that place, when I seen confident people, it looked alien. I couldn't understand how can you be confident? I didn't feel confident. I didn't even know where to start. I knew what confident looked like because I seen other people, but I couldn't find it myself. I felt worthless. I didn't feel good enough. I kept getting voices coming up saying, you're a horrible person, you're a disgusting person, you should be ashamed. And I kept saying, well, I am ashamed. You keep telling me I'm ashamed. I've been living in shame my whole life. You telling me I'm ashamed ain't gonna make it any better. And that voice wasn't me. I thought the voice was me. So I managed my social anxiety for many years. I hid it. I put on an act. I developed like a separate personality, or I wore a mask to get myself through it. Part of it was me, but most of it wasn't. And that, I realized it wasn't good enough. You couldn't overcome this thing by being 60% yourself and 40% someone else. There was always gonna be that feeling of betrayal. And I realized that it didn't matter how many friends I made, it didn't matter how many women I slept with, because I got good at that 3-4 years ago and I taught that. There was always going to be this feeling that I'm not being my true self. I used to ask myself the question, why can't I be the same person with my mum, with my friends, with my girlfriend, with my co-workers at the time, or with new people I meet? Why do I have to keep changing? You know, and then some people said, well, you know, Johnny, everyone is a bit like that. We all change when we meet new people, but it wasn't good enough for me, because I felt like I was really changing. And I got to a stage, quite frankly, where it didn't matter about what other people were doing. I needed to change this for me. And I'd had examples of people, I'd seen people in the world that were shy. I knew what shy looked like. I knew what confident looked like. I knew what insecure looked like. So, although this was a real curse, this became a blessing. This transformed my life. This connected me to so many amazing people. This made me do the job I love. I never imagined that I'd start teaching other people that had this condition, this social anxiety, this shyness, and help them with their confidence. It's life-changing. But I knew I couldn't do it with a book. And I kind of knew as well that as much as I wanted people to understand, that my family didn't really understand. They didn't understand how I felt. They were sympathetic, but you know, my dad caused this. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't want to run around saying, you know, you made me socially anxious, because you know, people don't want to see what they've done. They don't believe they've done that. I'm sure he didn't personally want to make me afraid of people. That was his own fear and whatever he was going through at the time. But I lived with this all the time, and I knew that this wasn't right. That a person shouldn't be living their life feeling like this. We shouldn't be afraid of other people, or we certainly shouldn't be afraid of everyone, our own family, or you know, scared to make eye contact. Something wasn't right, and I was determined to overcome this, no matter what it took. It took me years. It took me over 10 years to become this person. But I teach people in a matter of 6 to 12 weeks how to make these changes, because I've got down all my experience and I've put it down into a 6 weeks program, sometimes 12 weeks depending on how severe someone's social anxiety is, and help people to start actually being who they truly are in all their relationships. And it's the most satisfying thing you'll ever do. But I'll be honest with you, it's uncomfortable to start with. But I started to find what my mentor said, comfort in my discomfort, because I knew there was no way I could overcome this. There was no way that I could speak to people and not have those feelings. I used to get this terrible squirming in my stomach. I used to panic, I used to stutter. But I got to a stage where I thought it's okay for people to see that, because I'm eventually going to build my confidence. I'm not going to be like this all the time. It's just a temporary death that I've got to go through. If I don't go through this temporary ego or personality death, I will never be the person I want to be. I'll never live the life that I want to live. And even if I did have the life I wanted to live, I'm not going to enjoy it, because I'm not going to enjoy myself. And we spend 24 hours a day with ourselves. I try to escape myself. I try to escape myself by distracting myself on things like video games, alcohol, drugs, you know, excessive amounts of sex with women, lying, cheating. I just thought, this is not the person I am. So the cheating started with me, and I started to project out, but I don't want to live like this. And that's actually not true. There are good people out there. People can be trusted. Yeah, there's always going to be people you can't trust, but there's millions of people, and you can't have the idea that no one can be trusted. And I started to meet people that I could trust, and the more I developed myself, the more my whole reality started to change. Perception started to change of how people were. Then I started to actually enjoy speaking to people. I had this worry that they're going to try and trick me. So, you know, I don't like to say it, but it was a mental illness. It was psychological. Excuse me. But I've always been a very practical person. My teachings have always reflected that. When I taught my old style of teaching men to go out and meet women, and to what I teach now, we have to face that uncomfortable feeling. Since then, I've done public speaking at hundreds of events. I've run workshops. I've taught hundreds of people one-on-one who have had anxieties around socializing, with their dating life, in their professional life, with their family. This is all about getting yourself right. And people can be trusted, but you've got to learn to trust yourself. And it's good to go for embarrassment. I'm glad I got embarrassed. I'm glad that people see me get anxious and start. I had to go through that. And then you start realizing that everyone gets shy at one stage or another, but you can get to what I call a place of consistency. And I've called that congruency. Congruency is when you know who you are, you're yourself. You may occasionally slip out of your true personality, but you're not making those big slip-ups. And for most part of your social life, you are your authentic self. This person speaking to you now is my true self. This is the person that will speak to a woman or a person if I meet new people. And it's actually a very rewarding practice. This practice has not just grown my social confidence. I know it sounds crazy, it's made me more intelligent. It's made me understand business more. It's made me interested in different people, different cultures. So what once inhibited me is once, the word's going to come in a second, what's once inhibited me is once made me more open, if you like, in all areas. And I'm actually a really intelligent guy. Maybe you're like myself. Maybe you used to think that you wasn't intelligent. People thought you were stupid. because you associated intelligence as intellectual book knowledge, but that's one level of intelligence. But I'm talking about the intelligence of self-esteem, self-love. Very powerful. Only something you could really understand through real life experience. So as great as it is me telling you about my experience, I want to give you the chance to get your experience. And this is what I teach on my 6 weeks program. You can go to my website if you want to know more about it, www.johnnyberba.com, and you can also check out hundreds of my YouTube videos on my YouTube channel, and you can read my blogs and read how I overcome this social phobia, which was linked to childhood trauma and many complexities of my personality with shyness. And you know, I overcome all these things, and now I do a job that I love. It's affected every area of my life to begin with in a negative way, and now it has affected me in a positive way. It's transformed my life. It's made me so much more comfortable and open with people. Stuff like public speaking, it just you just get better at being more comfortable, and if feelings come up, you just get better at managing them. Then you realize that everyone gets feelings sometimes that come through when they're around people. This is part of being human, but it's not like before when you're terrified. You know, you really reduce those feelings and you start feeling love, you start feeling comfortable, and you actually feel comfortable enough to share yourself with people and not worry about being judged. Because one of the things I learned is, if we want to connect with people, we have to risk being hurt. We have to risk getting judged. Otherwise, we're never gonna find love. We're always gonna be protecting ourselves. People are gonna sense that they're gonna protect themselves. This is what my teaching is about. And my teaching is about honesty. I try to overcome social